Before we begin, I just wanted to speak a little bit about the butter in this recipe. For this recipe, we will be using a canned butter, and in particular, we'll be using golden churn butter. Now, there are a few other brands as well out there, but I recommend finding this if you can. Flavor of this is a key component to the fragrance and the texture of the butter cookie. If you'd like to use fresh butter instead, I will put some notes in my blog post on how you can substitute it. But do take note that this butter is a salted butter, so I would recommend replacing it with a salted butter as well. Another thing that I find very helpful is the use of a ruler in this recipe. Whilst it is not a key component, it does help me with piping and ensuring that my cookie is within the right shape, size, and height. Once you get the hang of it, you wouldn't really need it any longer, but before that, I would recommend using a ruler. So a key characteristic of this cookie is its shape. Now, I do not have the right piping tip at home, so I'm just using a star tip that I've got, which is a 8-point star tip that is about 1.5 cm in width and around 7 mil in height. You can use whatever tip that you've got at home. The main thing is to ensure that the cookie once piped falls within a certain size and weight. I will show you later in this recipe how I used this tip to pipe a shape that is similar to the Hong Kong bakery style cookies. The last key item that you'll need is a good quality piping bag. Although this dough is not very firm, I do find that a good quality piping bag will take you a long way when you're piping a lot of cookies. If you're using a disposable piping bag like I am, I would recommend using something that's of a thicker quality rather than something that's too thin. I will also show you some piping techniques later on in the recipe as to how to make piping a lot easier. So moving on to the ingredients itself, one of the key ingredients is the use of cake flour rather than all-purpose flour in this recipe. It just makes for a more tender crumb, and I would recommend using cake flour if you can find it. You'll also need corn flour or cornstarch, and this helps with giving that melt-in-your-mouth texture, which is the signature of this particular cookie. For the sugar itself, we'll be using icing sugar or powdered sugar. Just be sure that the powdered sugar that you're using doesn't have any anti-caking ingredients in it. And the last important ingredient is the salt. Now, I know we're using salted butter, but I do find it very important to add a little bit more salt just to bring out the flavor of the butter within the cookie. Just be sure that the salt that you're using isn't a coarse grain one, but a fine grained salt, as you do not want to bite into granules of salt within the cookie itself. So that's it. Let's get on with the recipe. you.